Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players, uncover their stories, and discover what makes them tick. If you love guitar, music, and the backstory of people's lives, stick around. You're in the right place. Hi, this is Craig. Just want to let you know you can now advertise here on Everyone Loves Guitar podcast. For more information, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise.
Pleasure.
Hey, everybody. This is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. And I've got another one of my New York homeboys with us. I've been saying that a lot lately because why the hell wouldn't I? Anyway, we're with the one and only Matt Beck. And I just want to say a shout out to both Joel Hoekstra and Ben Butler for hooking us up. It was those two guys, I think. Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
And let me tell you about Matt. He was born into a musical family and was studying classical piano by the age of 6. By the time he was 8, he showed great promise. After auditioning, was accepted into Juilliard School of Music at 8?
Yeah, believe it or not.
Dude, that is badass. By 14, rather than continue the path of classical piano, he shifted his focus to guitar and his newfound interest in popular music. Taking private lessons and playing in bands all throughout high school, he broadened his musical horizons and eventually decided to study jazz guitar at the Manhattan School of Music, earning a degree in jazz and commercial guitar performance. After graduating, he began working all around New York City, playing with many artists and doing many recording sessions. He eventually wound up joining singer-songwriter Lisa Loeb's band 9 Stories, and he spent the next few years touring as her guitarist and keyboardist. Not long afterwards, he caught the attention of Matchbox 20, who was looking for a multi-instrumentalist for their forthcoming tour. Matt wound up playing keyboards, guitar, pedal steel, and mandolin for Matchbox 20's I wrote More Than You Think You Are. Is that what it is?
That's it.
I wrote
That's
More
it.
Than Think You Are. Sound like I'm from the Bronx again. More Than You Think You Are. The More Than You Think You Are tour, and he's played on all subsequent tours, as well as joining Matchbox 20 in the studio for their album Exile on Mainstream. Also, Matt was asked by Matchbox 20 frontman Rob Thomas to be his musical director for a solo project he was embarking on. Matt since recorded and toured with Rob Thomas' solo project as his MD, guitarist, and keyboardist from its inception to now. During a Matchbox 20 Rob Thomas hiatus, Matt was handpicked to join Rod Stewart's band for his Still the Same tour. Man, what pedigree, man. Rod Stewart, Rob Thomas, playing, again, keyboards and guitar. Other artists Matt's had the pleasure of recording and touring with are Miley Cyrus, Gwen Stefani, Rosanne Cash, as well as playing guitar for the Broadway shows of Bono and the Edge, which is Spider-Man, Sting's The Last Ship, and Carole King's, which is beautiful. And I'll tell you what was really cool was over the holidays, I mentioned this to you yesterday, I was sitting with my wife watching, and I watched that special just because we always fast forward through the music acts. I have to be honest with you, but we just want to see the tree. But I said, "Holy shit! Wait a minute, Matt Beck is playing there," and it was so cool seeing you play. You played wonderful. It was just like,
Thank you.
I mean, as a New York guy, that had to be really cool doing that event.
Yeah, we've done that before. It was the Rockefeller tree lighting ceremony that they make a TV show out of, and yeah, we've done it. I've done it with other artists too. I've actually done it with Jewel once, and I did it with a country artist, Brett Eldridge, once. It's kind of like it's like one of the New York staple kind of things that happen every year. And it's fun. It's really fun to see and to be a part of.
And it was freezing this year.
Yeah, it was really cold. And I don't know if I told you this, I was in the throes of the worst back pain I'd ever experienced in my life.
Oh my God.
And something happened. I don't know. I still, to this day, it was like one of those things, just
holy crap.
Somehow it happened. Like it just, when I was sleeping or something, I don't know. And I just was like in the most agonizing pain I've ever been in. And there I was on camera, and I look back and I'm like, yeah, I can see a little pain in my face.
Well, I was just thinking, I didn't know, man. I had no clue. You pulled it off, man. It was very cool.
Yeah.
Very
really
cool.
Fun. I'll never forget that. Like just waiting for the camera to be done so I could just like take the guitar off. And,
well, I noticed you didn't have like a 70s Les Paul, which is a good move. You weren't killing yourself with weight.
Yeah. Exactly. It was still pretty heavy what I had on. It was like it was a Hamer Monaco, but it was like a kind of like a 335. So it had some weight to it.
Well, man, you sounded great. It was real fun to see you play, to see, like I said yesterday, it's really weird when you see somebody, playing at an event that is so, that's so close. Yeah. That's so close to me that I've been, been there. Well, man, let me ask you this. You obviously have a ton of musical inherent talent. Where did that talent come from?
My mom is a professional French horn player.
Wow.
So she's been playing in orchestras all her life. And my dad, my natural father, is a violinist.
Okay.
And then a subsequent a stepfather who I grew up with was an orchestral conductor. So it was just it was just in the house, in the family, and that's just what we did. But it was very classically focused.
So when you switched over to pop, they were musicians. They weren't freaking out or anything, were they?
No, in fact, they had. I remember the first time I heard the Beatles is because my mom had the, those best of, the red and the blue best ofs.
Yeah.
In the house. She just had it. I guess she figured, well, I guess I should have this. It's the Beatles, and then they, I think she knew some of the songs, but I think I discovered them just from, picking through her album collection. So, when I got older and, I had friends that were into music, and I just started listening to like the more popular bands, and I just really, really started to love it, and just really became like something that I discovered on my own that I really liked.
Very cool, man.
And so I was of course passionate about music, and I just threw all my passion into that. And I, to my mom's credit, she did not freak out when I told her I didn't want to continue classical piano. And in fact, it's probably the reason that I came back to music at all on guitar, because she didn't, when I told her I didn't want to pursue it, the life of a classical pianist, which is like practicing 6 hours a day and not having much of a life outside of that. She was like, okay, well, that's a big choice, honey. And if you do that, it's going to, alter the path of your life and what you want to do. And that's okay. But just know that, you're not going to be able to come back to that in the same way, because you're going to lose your momentum, and that's okay. And she was just really nice about it, rather than freaking out. Like, I'm spending all this money up, it was really nice. And so it made coming back to music later on my own terms easier, or possible even,
Well, you probably had such an, advantage. You probably had a leg up as far as like from the theory standpoint. That's all you do is read and theory.
Yeah. My ear was developed. So when I picked up guitar, it was a pretty quick, it was a pretty quick thing. I was starting to play, songs right away, because it just had figured out stuff. Luckily my mom had a guitar in the house. Like, I didn't even have to ask for it. Like, she just had one. I don't know. I think she bought one for my brother to see if he would maybe like take to it. And I wound up sort of just taking it over as a big brother would do. He never had a chance. I just said, give me that.
What kind of guitar was that?
It was, we had a Yamaha steel string acoustic.
Very
and
cool.
then she had an electric, it was a PV electric, and it was like their version of the Strat. I don't even know what the model is. And it was natural. It was a natural finish. I'll never forget it.
You still have it?
No, I have no idea where it is. I still have the Yamaha, the acoustic. I still have.
That's wild.
And what I did with it is I keep it Nashville tuned, or they call it high strung.
What is that?
It's like a special tuning that it's kind of like the top half of a 12-string acoustic.
Okay.
You just take the high strings. So they're all like up in the higher octave. They don't span across the whole range of a normal tuning. Like, so you get these really interesting like chord voicings. They all start to like mesh together in the higher range, and it's a very cool like jangly kind of a sound that sits really nice in the track. And they do it a lot in Nashville, so they call it Nashville tuning.
That's cool, man.
I keep a guitar like that because you have to have the special gauges. So that's what I did with it, because I have some like really nice acoustics that I record with, some that I tour with, and I'm like, what am I going to do with this old Yamaha that's like I learned on? I'll just keep it high strung, and then just that'll be what it is. And I can still keep it around, and it can still have a purpose.
So is your wife a musician?
No, but she's very musical. Very musical. She's from Brazil, so it's just part of the heritage.
And how about
she turned me on a lot of Brazilian stuff,
Oh yeah, there's some great music down there, man. And how about your son? Does he like have a propensity?
He does.
What?
Yes, he does. He's taken the piano quite well.
That's
and,
cool,
and
man.
he's taken drum lessons. But the piano thing, he just has it. He's already sat in with us. Like with Rob Thomas, he comes up on stage, he sits in. He started sitting in with us when he was 7.
Wow.
He'd call him up, learn a song, and he'd come up and he'd play with the band, So to this day he still does it. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Man, talk about being the big man amongst your buddies.
Yeah, it's funny. He does go to his friends. They don't even know who Matchbox is. They don't even know who Rob is, really. They're like, I play with Rob Thomas. I'm like, all right, dial it back a notch, buddy. Nobody cares. Yeah.
That's funny, man.
But it's fun to see because he's really taken to it, and if he wanted to pursue it, he could. But I'm certainly not pushing him to do that. He has to want to do that.
Yeah, anything.
That's
being a dad, let me tell you, you can't push anybody to do anything.
Right. And I don't know if that's what I want for him anyway, because it's a tough life, man. And you got to be fortunate. If you talk to anybody who's done anything, and they will credit some good fortune, coming their way, or a fortuitous event that if I wasn't there that day, and that led to this gig and that sets you off on your way, there's a lot of that. I mean, you have to be ready for it, obviously, and you have to have, the goods.
Totally.
But it always takes a little bit of,
Yeah, you need some serendipity in your back pocket, man. So you get out of Manhattan School. Where's Manhattan School of Music, by the way?
It is on the cusp of Harlem, or it is Harlem. It's 116th and Broadway.
Oh, okay.
I think.
So near Columbia.
It's literally up the street from Columbia.
Okay.
Yeah. Although the old Manhattan School of Music used to be somewhere else. At one point it moved buildings. It was somewhere else originally. Because Manhattan School of Music, where it is now, is the old Juilliard, and then Juilliard moved to Lincoln Center, and then I'm not sure where Manhattan was before it moved there, but whatever. When I was at Manhattan School of Music, it was at
116th of Columbia.
Yeah.
So you get out of Manhattan School of Music. What was your first pro job?
That's tough to say. I was probably doing pro jobs all through college and even before. Because as soon as I was out of high school, I was doing pro jobs. Sometimes some recording sessions, some playing in clubs with bands, because I was already 18.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I can remember my first, because literally as a growing up as sort of this piano prodigy, I was also doing performances. I was getting paid for some of that stuff. I mean, it was going to my mom, but I mean, so there were some recitals. I was sort of already doing performances and playing publicly all through my childhood anyway. So
did your mom?
I don't know.
No, sorry, go ahead. I apologize.
I was just gonna say I don't know when I could pinpoint my first professional engagement.
Did she hip you to some of the business stuff that you otherwise would not have known, like getting paid, for example?
Yeah, no. I mean, because her thing was so different. I mean, she just played in orchestras, and orchestras had a season. And you would get I don't know if she got paid weekly or for the whole season at once. I'm not sure, but that's what she knew. And she did a lot of teaching. She had a huge teaching practice where people would come to the house. I just remember people coming through, and she had a little studio she would teach out of, and I would listen. It was so she's done that all her life, as most classical musicians keep a busy teaching practice going. So she did that, and then her gigs were her orchestral, performances. So there wasn't much. I don't think there was much she could show me for the business of playing in a rock band or something like that. But so I had to learn that all myself.
What were some of I know you've played all over the city, man. What were some of your favorite places to play?
Well, I remember moving into the city a little while after graduating college, because I was still commuting to Westchester, and for me, because I was playing the Bitter End and Kenny's Castaways and all those
very
clubs,
cool.
BGBs, all those haunts, But I remember feeling hey, I'm actually I may be going places when I did a gig at the Bottom Line, when I joined Lisa Loeb's band.
Right.
I knew I was going to go on tour, but she started she would play at the bottom line. And I was like, wow. Cause I saw so many shows,
Yeah.
you know, it's not there anymore.
That's an NYU dorm, I think.
Yeah. It was so sad to see that go. But man, that was like cause I saw so many shows there growing up. And like when I played there, I felt like, wow, you know, I invited all my friends. I'm like, I'm playing the bottom line. I'm playing the bottom line. You know, and I look back at it now, it's really just it's like a big room.
Right.
You know? But
so many famous people had played there. So
yeah. So that was big. That was big for me. And then of course, you know, like once I was out playing with playing with Matchbox, like playing the Madison Square Garden, of course, because I mean, I saw AC/DC at the Garden. I saw Rush at I saw all the bands, you know, I grew up listening to there. So like to take the stage at the Garden, that was huge. And also the Beacon.
Oh the acoustics there are great.
Yeah, I was playing in a band, and we were opening for Duran Duran, and that was like. I invited all my friends. Like, yeah, I'm playing the Beacon Theater. It was like, I can't believe this. You know, like this is everything I've waited for, everything I've wanted since I switched over to guitar. You know, from piano. Like I wanted to be playing these spaces and playing in these rooms, and now I'm doing it. You know, so those were big milestones for me.
Yeah, man.
Sure. Yeah.
Someone told me a guitar player out of Austin played Clapton's Crossroads.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if this is normal, but he said the acoustics were horrible there, which I was at the Garden. No, at the Garden. Well,
I mean, listen, the acoustics are going to be awful in any arena. I mean, it's an arena. It's not really meant, you know, so, and plus we're in in-ears anyway, like on those big tours. So, you know, when I do talk to like sound men about it, they're just like, yeah, I mean, everything's just a big wash, you know, in the space. So, I mean, I think it's hard to gauge whether the acoustics are good because, I mean, I think fundamentally the acoustics are bad in arenas because it's just not meant for that, you know.
Okay.
Big reverberant can, you know, basically.
Yeah.
But I guess if they have some sound better than others because some like they fly curtains, you know, and that can like suck up some of the reverberance, you know. But for me, if I'm wearing in-ears, I don't know. You know,
you don't even notice, yeah.
I don't even notice. You know, I just have my mix going and everything's cool.
But the Beacon had to be great acoustics, I would imagine, because I've seen a bunch of shows there.
Yeah, it was great. I saw Tom Petty at the Beacon. I've seen so many great shows there. But I've played there a bunch of times with a bunch of different people, and that's just you know, one of the great rooms in New York City. And so to get to play there and to be backstage and like, you know, see what it's like. I've always wondered those things, you know. Yeah. Same with the Garden. I remember when we went to the Garden, we did the Garden, and like we went left from the hotel to the Garden, and when you go there, there's this like tunnel that you have to drive through, and I'm going through it. And I'm going, holy shit! The song remains the same. You know,
that's right. Yeah.
You know, you see Jimmy looking out the window, and they're going around the circular, and I'm like, I can't believe this.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
You know?
Your enthusiasm, even like before we started the recording, is really cool. Your enthusiasm for the, not the little things, but for the, just your whole experience is really nice to see, man.
Thanks, man. I mean, it's like the little kid in me comes out because I remember just being at home and in front of the mirror with, you know, a tennis racket. Like literally, I grew up playing a lot of tennis, so I literally did that like cliche thing of at the tennis racket in front of the mirror, putting on your records and like practicing your moves, like, you know. But like I did that for hours. You know. Sometimes I'd put two rackets together to make a double neck. You know, like I was working it, man. Like,
dude,
I was working it. I was like, you know.
You just imagine someone like walking in on you. What is going on here? My double neck.
Yeah. She just paid me no mind, you know, because I'm sure, because I used to crank. I mean, she let me play the music really. Like, you know, now that I think about it, like she didn't like when I would blast the music, she never said anything.
Really?
She was just, yeah, like I never had that turn that down. Even though she was a classical musician, she enjoyed rock.
That's really cool, man.
Yeah, but it was just I never had that, and it's just. But
you know what? She probably appreciated your enthusiasm for it. You know.
Yes. Yeah, and I see it in my son now too. Like, you know, he he likes, like his own, he's discovering his own stuff. He loves like dubstep and all these like cool, like programmed kind of music. And he just turns out and he loves it, man. It's just, he's always like singing along with it and like doing his dances and stuff. He puts it on. It's like, it's the same. It's DNA, man. I see it.
That's cool, man. That's good. Hey, you ain't gonna get in trouble sitting home listening to music either.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, let's talk about some of these gigs that you have. And if you could tell me how you got the gig and a cool or interesting story about them. And let's start with Rob Thomas and Matchbox 20.
It's funny. I always have this joke every time somebody asks me, how do you get the gig? I always say Craigslist. And it's funny. It's like just to watch the reaction. Like sometimes sometimes that's the reaction. They laugh. Usually it's like, really? No way. like Matchbox is putting out an ad on Craigslist,
Guitars wanted.
It's sort of like my go-to answer, and I just love to see people's response. But to answer you truthfully, it really came as a consequence of playing with Lisa Loeb. Because the other guitar player in Lisa's band was Dweezil Zappa.
Okay.
This is sort of long. This is sort of like a 6 degrees, but stay with me. Dweezil was the other guitar player, and Dweezil's sister Moon Unit was married to the drummer of Matchbox 20, Paul Doucette.
Okay.
So when we were doing our like practice, invite only shows before we went on tour, we did them all at Joe's Garage. By the way, I don't know if you're a Zappa fan.
I know the whole Joe's Garage record. I have the record.
It's an actual play. Frank called the place that was his rehearsal and studio place that wasn't at his home. He had a rehearsal place that also was a studio, and he called it Joe's Garage.
Oh, I did not know.
Yeah, and to this day, I believe it's still there. I think Dweezil still uses it. I think. And it was run by one of his crew members, like kind of ran the whole place. So there's all this like great Zappa memorabilia there, like stage sets and all kinds of like stuff that it's like, wow. So anyway, we did our like little invite only rehearsal there before we toured, and Paul showed up with Moon, and we met and I think Paul just noted what I did. He's like guitar and keys, because it wasn't until a couple years later that I think Paul probably thought about me when they needed someone.
Dude, that is so cool.
Yeah, and it's like, and it's not even that. It's kind of like in a way, it's I sort of earned it, because it was like he saw what I did, and he was like, and Paul remembered to think of me when and then coincidentally, I met Rob independently of that thing. So in a way, there was some serendipity there, because I think when Paul mentioned me to Rob, I think Rob was like, I met that guy. Like he was like, oh yeah, I went to I played the Mercury Lounge with this guy, Peter Stewart from Dog's Eye View, which was a band in the 90s that had a hit called Everything Falls Apart. It was like one of the biggest songs of that year when it came out. And I was playing with Peter Stewart in Dog's Eye View, and Matchbox were Dog's Eye View fans. And so Rob actually came to the show, as did, I don't think Paul came to the show, but Rob came to the show, and we met there. Okay, and I was like, hey, I met Paul. So we did all, and he saw what I did with Peter Stewart. So I think this was sort of like this twofold thing. And I think when Paul thought of me, and Rob's probably like, oh yeah, that guy, I saw that guy. I met him.
Okay.
So there was some serendipity there.
That's great. But but I think the earning this stuff, that's a given. I mean, you could have all the serendipity in the world. If you suck, it doesn't really matter.
Doing like the guitar and the keys and singing and I was like, wow, that's
a lot of work.
Really, really what they needed was a keyboardist.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what they wanted, but I think I sort of turned that into more of a multi-tasking position.
Yeah. That's great.
Because it just adds more to what you can do.
Well, absolutely, man. You can play guitar, and now it opens up a whole. And now you're playing you're playing mandolin, and I'm sure there's other things you play. So
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
you're a hell of a value, man. Let me tell you.
Yeah, it's funny. I tell this to a lot of people who sometimes I get asked advice, like how did you get out there and like get to the point where you are now, where you're working so much. And And I just said, man, you just got to take everything that comes along, just be heard. And I figured out early on, like, hey, man, if I can do like a lot of different instruments, I'm going to be getting a lot of calls. And at one point, I made a conscious effort. I said, you know what? I do guitar and keys. I'm going to pick up the banjo. I'm going to pick up the mandolin. I'm going to pick up the pedal steel, and I just all the string related instruments, and really, practice those really hard for a few years and really learn them. And now it's like, hey, Matt, do you play banjo? Yeah, I actually do play banjo. Oh, great. You're hired,
That's really important.
Yeah, because like you put yourself out there like that, there's a lot of less people who can do that than play guitar. I mean,
yeah,
I'm a great guitar player, but there's so many great guitar players.
Yes.
So like, who's going to get the call? Oh, well, what? Why don't we call Matt? Because he could play some keys too.
Totally.
So, I've really sort of put that out there that I do the multi-instrumental thing, and it's really helped kind of get me out there in a unique way. Yeah.
I want to make a point to other players listening that this was deliberate what you did. You deliberately said, hey, let me do this to increase my chances, my opportunities. It just didn't randomly. And I think a lot of times, people sometimes feel everything is serendipity or luck based, but to some extent, and this is a perfect example, you make your own luck.
And I'm glad you said that. And I've literally had friends of mine who said, hey, I bumped into like an old friend of mine who knew me like way back before I did anything, and brought up my name, like, hey man, you see Matt's doing all this stuff. And I swear more than once they were like, yeah man, that guy's a lucky motherfucker. Which I am, but it was like that guy's blessed, was lucky, and they're right. But
they're right,
but they're not really giving some credit to like.
Yeah, but if you didn't woodshed for an extra, let's say over a 5-year period, it's probably a fair statement to learn banjo, mandolin, and what was the other one?
Pedal steel.
And pedal steel. It's probably a fair statement to say that over a 5-year period, you probably put 2,500 hours in at a minimum.
And still am putting in the time. Like I haven't stopped. I'm still trying to get better at pedal steel and things like that. So that's a never ending process actually,
So that's not like luck when you're sitting there doing something for 2,500 hours. That's like a deliberate commitment to get better at a certain skill set. And I really give you credit for that because it's, it's one thing, and I'm coming from a business mindset. So it's the same thing in business. It's one thing to, want something and to be quote ambitious, but to me ambitious is an action plan. So what action plan have you otherwise it's called like dreaming, which is important, but it's like it's like think and grow rich, but you got to fucking do it. You just actually can't think and grow rich. You have to think you're going to get rich, but then you got to fucking do it, right? So I really give you credit for that, and I'm really happy for you that it all worked out.
Thank you so much. I mean, and also on that same note, I mean, even just if you're just speaking about guitar and guitar only, I made it a real a conscious effort to like learn jazz. I really had no visions of being a jazz musician, but like I went to 4 years of college to study jazz and immerse myself in it. Also like many like picking up different styles. I mean, I had my classical background, and then just learning how to like really be good at like Travis picking or like like finger picking and like all that stuff, like really making an effort to like do that because I knew like, yes, I want to play in bands, yes, I want to do that. I also wanted to like be ready to play on anyone's record or be like a studio musician. And so really just focusing on like playing many different styles became interesting to me as well.
And it's not coincidental. That's why you get called for all these different styles now. It's not like, well, I fell into these jazz gigs. I don't know why. No, of course you know why, because you freaking played your ass off to learn the music. Yeah, there's a lot more. It's been my observation, and I always try because I didn't come from a place where I knew what does success look like. I've always really tried to study it hard because it's always not that I'm like super successful or anything, but I always try to grow and I know, and this is the observation I made. Shit happens not by accident. It happens because, through doing something a million times, and maybe you get that one shot and then the doors open. you know. And then I spoke to another player, and they said it's like you better be prepared when that call comes.
Right. That's what we're practicing for, is to be ready for that moment, you know. And hopefully that you have many moments like that.
Yeah.
But you got to be ready for them.
Got to be ready for that first one, man, for sure.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You know.
Very cool. Sting in the last shit. Now, before you talk about that, did you take over Ben's role or before Ben?
No, there were actually 2 guitars in that production.
I didn't know that.
So
okay.
I sat next to Ben.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead. How did you get that gig? And cool story.
Well, that was actually a Broadway show. So that is a little bit of a different kind of a thing, you know. But you know, Sting worked with us and recorded with us and rehearsed with us, and you know, he would pick up a guitar and he would sing. But ultimately, and he did join the cast for a while. But ultimately, it was a theater piece, of which I played in the orchestra pit for a musical. But you know, it was his baby. You know, it wasn't just like someone bought the rights to do this and you know he receives the check. It was like this was really creatively his baby and something he put his whole self into. Very and cool. Ultimately, it was not hugely successful on its Broadway run, and he took it really hard. And I think you know they're doing it now in Europe, which I think people are responding to it more out there. They're doing a tour of it now, so it's still out there. But it ran for like 6 months, I think, on Broadway, and we got to do a record, and you know we got to do some performances with Sting for promotional things on some TV stuff and some live stuff. So that was a thrill. You know, I wound up leaving a hugely successful Broadway show, the Carole King one, the Carole King musical Beautiful, to do the Sting one because I wanted to work with Sting.
Right.
But again, even knowing that it was going to only be a very short. I mean, I was hoping it would be hugely successful and run forever.
Right.
But even knowing what I know now, I would still do it again just to get the opportunity to work with him because he's fantastic. He was an amazing musician and a great person. What
did you learn, or I'm sure you learned a bunch, but what was 1 or 2 things that maybe you learned from either watching him or at direct, interaction or tutelage from him?
Sting?
Yeah.
It's a really good question.
Besides, like how to have sex for 5 hours or something, which is fuck a great thing. I'd like to learn that, to be honest with you. But I mean, like musically.
I mean, I learned that he's just completely and utterly an artist. You know what I mean? It's just, and it was made abundantly clear to me, just being in the room with him, that like, he really is just, looking to express himself in this story, which was like semi-autobiographical, and it was really just like trying to make this statement about his life and about this place where he grew up, and watching him work and watching him make certain musical choices, I could just see like, oh, that like really learning, like that's what really being an artist is like, because someone like me, I mean, we're all artists in our own right and what we do.
Definitely.
But, most of what I do is like stuff being hired for and like trying to help someone else with their vision. And sometimes what I do is corporate even. Like I play, something that's just for, the gig, whatever the gig is, But I think what I take away from Sting was like, how to be an artist and be true to yourself and your vision and like what that means and what that looks like, and it's easy to sort of forget about that because, I'm trying to like support my family and raise a kid in Manhattan, so like it's hard to stay. I just want to be an artist and make a living. Yeah. You know what I mean? So,
well, it's not,
Sting reminds me.
It's not necessarily congruent with that vision of supporting your family and raising a kid in Manhattan.
Exactly. So Sting really, it was a reminder to me, like, don't forget about that.
That's cool.
And that's one of the reasons why I need to do my second album.
You heard it here.
Yeah, exactly.
Second album and a website. There you go.
Exactly. Think about. I mean, that's what I take. That's my takeaway from Sting is like, don't forget to be an artist. we're all artists in what we do, and we're all great in what we do, but don't forget that artistic vision of putting out art form, making art form, and that's what I take away from him.
It's funny,
and he's a funny guy. Actually, he's funny.
Oh, he is?
Yeah. Trying to think if there's any. I'm not gonna. I mean, there's one story I would tell, but I don't think it's the. I'm not gonna tell it. It's. I wouldn't want it to get back to.
Okay. Well, what's interesting though, you worked with him and Carole King, who Carole King probably wrote more hits than Sting, but didn't sell anywhere near as many records. But my God, let's talk about great songwriting between those two.
Right, with the Brill Building, when early on, before she did the artist thing.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. She was, amazing. Yeah, and actually her show it's autobiographical as well, and I should say it's biographical because she didn't actually write the show. It's about her, but so it's very biographical, and it's really interesting to learn that she just walked in there as a kid. I want to work here. She wanted to be, her childhood dream was to be a writer, not an artist.
Wow.
She looked up to the writers. So did
she come from an academic background? Because that typically that's where you would see that.
Yeah, I don't know, because I don't recall. I don't recall that detail of it. But she was completely self-motivated. That she walked into the Brill, but I want to work here. What have you written? What do you mean?
That's pretty ballsy, man. That's great.
Yeah, and she just did it, because that's not something that, it's not like I want to be a movie star.
Right.
She wanted to be a writer. I want to be a successful songwriter. I love that.
That is cool, man.
Yeah.
Another Bronx. She's from the Bronx too, I think, right?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, represent. Represent. Rod Stewart, man, how the hell talk about that gig? Well,
that's Craigslist. That was a Craigslist ad.
A Craigslist in London. You were perusing the London Craigslist ad.
Yeah, I mean, that was serendipitous, because my good friend Conrad Korsch, it was his longtime bass player. And they were mounting another tour, and this was right after Rod. He did all those standards records.
Yes,
that were really successful. He did like 3 or 4 of those records, and I think he won his Grammys from that. But he was done with that, and he was returning to the rock. His next record was still the same. It came out in 2007, I think, and that was his return to rock. And so the band he had. The spot that I took over was more of a jazz spot, and so we want a rock guy who can also do the jazz stuff if we need it, but this is more of a rock position, and we needed to be they needed a multi guy who could play some keys, some guitar.
Look at all these opportunities, man.
And my good friend Conrad Korsch, bless his heart, threw my name in, and that was that.
Was he in England at the time?
Well, he's wherever he wants to be. He's got houses all over, so I think it just
it's
depends.
Nice to be Rod Stewart, man.
It's nice to be Rod Stewart,
So you got a call from management?
Yes, he put me in touch with the MD. I had to send a bunch of materials to the MD because the MD wanted to, show them to Rod, and so Rod could sign off on it. A really funny story is, my last name is Beck, and Rod has had this famous, tumultuous, relationship with Jeff Beck.
Right.
So I was wondering, if that was gonna maybe hurt me, because they haven't had the best relationship, over the years.
That being said, to me, that's some of the best work that they both have done together.
I know. The Jeff Beck group stuff is amazing. But anyway, so I was like, but he signed off on it, and a funny story. The first time we met was actually on a gig. There was no audition. There was a corporate. It was some billionaire's birthday party, and they literally hired. Yeah, they literally hired Rod Stewart.
Who else hires Rod Stewart for a birthday party?
Fly the whole band crew and everything, and production and everything. But that was to be my audition. So literally the MD gave me 50 songs to learn.
Oh my God.
And it wasn't like I was going to bring charts on the gig, because it was it's like a rock gig. I'm not going to show up for the
songs. And there were 50 Rod Stewart songs.
Right. So luckily, I'm a total muso head. Like I know a ton of songs. So I knew a lot of those songs anyway. We all do, because a lot of them are famously known in the lexicon of rock and roll, So that was helpful. But still, there was 50 songs is 50 songs. There's a lot.
So how much time did you have to learn those?
I had a month.
Okay, so that's
yeah.
I still have to.
I canceled my other gigs. I'm like, listen, I'm just focusing on this. And I would get up in the morning. I would go to the gym, and I would come back, and then I would spend my whole afternoon just working through these songs. And came time for the gig. Rod finally makes it to the backstage area, and I hear him say, he comes in, I see him, and he kind of looks around. He goes, where's Matt Beck? I need to meet Matt Beck. So MD brings him over.
Not too much pressure.
Yeah, he literally says to me, he goes, wow, I never thought I'd be playing with another Beck in my life.
That's funny. That's really cool, man. That's good. That was a nice welcoming way, warm way to welcome you. That's cool.
And I will tell you one good story there was another trial by fire thing at dinner. We were all at dinner, and literally the MD comes over to me towards the end of dinner, and we're about to play probably in an hour. He goes, oh, by the way, I told you that it was just these 50 songs, but Rod wants to do some of the standards. Are you okay with that? And I'm like, you're in the list? What? He goes, well, I have got charts for them, so that they're like these piano, and it's completely written out. So some of these, one of the ballads has a piano intro that's completely written out, like a flourishy kind of, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, we're playing this in an hour? He's like, yeah, well, I got the music. And I'm like, all right. And I left in. I'm like, give me the music now. And I'm like,
yeah,
and I
of
went
course.
On stage. I'm like, give me some headphones. I went on stage. Luckily, the curtain was drawn, and I sat there and I practiced. There was 2 or 3 he wanted to do, and it was like a last minute call because I wasn't prepared for that. And that could have been my ass right there. I mean, if I didn't play those well, he might have said, well, he was a little shaky on the, at just seeing it an hour before, and it was all written out. It wasn't just play the chords, just comp and play along. It was these are arrangements. And so, to my credit, I, because of my background. I
was going to say, there you go. Yeah.
Just, it really helped me take that gig home with me that night, and really own the gig. And so I got the thumbs up, and we did it. We did that for a year and a half. We did that tour all around the world. And then when Matchbox started up again, I gave my notice because I just had a little more of allegiance to the Matchbox guys. They're a little more my age, and I didn't want to.
Well, that was your home base, sort of.
It kind of, really, that's sort of my home base. Even if it was less money at the time, I felt it was a wise choice to go back, because those guys have done so much for me, and I really wanted to sort of keep that going,
Plus a Rod gig, you don't know
people in his band over the
you don't know. Yeah.
And it was literally said to me, they're like, listen, man, after we do this tour, don't feel bad if Rod mixes it up again. It's just what he likes to do. There's nothing personal. He loves you and he loves what you're doing in the band. But don't feel bad if you don't get called for the next. They were prepping me.
You won't be back. So just don't worry about it.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. But I totally get it though. It's not, that's just the way the guy is. Yeah.
I do have one great, a great story from the Rod Stewart tour. Since you're asking about stories, it's a long tour. So we would do things to wind each other up, sometimes Rod would, I found out later, he told my tech to take my set list away, because we had set lists written on the floor, and there was a way that they could reach up from behind where it was, and they would take it, and then we're doing the show, unbeknownst to me, I'm looking at the set list, and then I do the song, and then Rod comes over to me and says, hey, what song is next? And then I would turn and look down, set list wasn't there. I don't know. And he goes, you need to know. He goes, you need to know what the song is next. If I ask you,
oh my God, that is funny, man.
I literally took a set list from someone else nearby, or and I put it down, and he came around later, a couple songs later, he came around again, and I'm like, what song is next? And I'm like, what the fuck? He's like, you need to know. Oh,
then you realize it was,
and it kept going.
That's great,
I don't know what's going on.
That's really funny.
So I the next show I said, I'm going to get him back. I'm going to try to get him back, right? So what I did is sometimes he wouldn't see us. He wouldn't see us until he took the stage. literally, like, you know, so like we could, you know, we wouldn't see him until like literally we're about to start the show. So I decided I'm going to do my hair like him. so I'm like, I got some product.
That's awesome.
Teased it up because my hair was a little longer then, and I teased it up like this.
That's phenomenal.
Know? Yeah, so I'm waiting there. I'm sitting there with my guitar, and I'm waiting for him to come out. I'm like, all right, here we go, motherfucker. Let's see how this goes. You know. So he comes out, and he takes one look at me, and he kind of like doubles over laughing. Then he's shaking his head. But then I noticed like throughout the night, I'm like, he might be pissed at me, you know, because he was kind of flipping me the bird a little bit, like, fuck you, you know, kind of thing. And I'm like, oh shit, he may not be appreciating this, you know. And I'm like, it's too late. So we did the whole set, and like occasionally he would give me a little attitude, like, you know, he'd give me a little finger, or he, you know, like I think he might have skipped my introduction, like, you know, like I was like, shit. So we get off the stage, right? And I'm on my way to the dressing room, and the tour manager comes to me and he goes, Rod wants to see you now, right now. Okay. And all the guys in the band are going, bye-bye. They're all like, bye-bye. You know, like, I'm like, oh, fuck. And so like so he led me down this long hallway, and I'm like, all right, well, if that's the way it's going to be. I'm like, if he can't take a joke, I mean, why? I can take a joke. How come he can't take a joke? I was like, fuck it. Yeah. You know, I'm not going to apologize. I'm like, this is just fun, you know? Right. So I'm all like ready for like whatever is going to happen, you know? And so he takes me in there, and Rod looks at me, you know, and he goes, what are you doing? He goes, what are you doing out there? And I'm like, man, it's just a joke. He goes, man, you're not doing it right. If you want to do it right, you got to do it this way. And he says, give me he gets use this product. He just told me how. He wasn't pissed at all. He was just winding me up, but he wanted to do it the right way. He goes, this is how you do it. And he gave me the whole method. He goes, when you get out of the shower, he goes, your hair is still wet, right? He goes, you put this in your hair. He goes, and then you blow dry it upside down. And he's going through the whole like method of how to like get my hair to look like his.
I wonder would he have spent that much time with you on a song?
Right.
Probably not. But his hair, man, you got to do this right.
The hair, it's like, here's the whole regimen, you know. And so anyway, so it was really sweet. And he gave me the tube. He goes, here, take that. He goes, if you do it again, do it right, you know. That's great. Oh my God. So yeah, it was a great story, because he was like, Rod wants to see you now. You know, I was like, oh, you know.
Wow, that is really cool. That was really good that he played.
Yeah, and, you know, he's a good guy. He's a bloke. You know, he's a really good guy. Yeah.
That's great, man.
So he could take a joke. You know, he definitely could. You know.
Man, what are the top, and this is a tough question, musically, the top 3 experiences that you've had for any reason? You know, the hang, just your work, the whatever, the situation.
Interesting. Well, like one of the most prestigious gigs I ever did is with Rod. We played for the Queen, and for a private. We did a private one of the palaces. Forget which palace it was. There was a very intimate concert for the Queen and a very select few people. And wow, like it was like,
that is heavy duty, man.
Yeah, like literally, like we all had to stand when the Queen, because everyone was seated in the audience, the band's on stage. We were already standing, but we're on stage. And then, you know, we were all the Queen's going to come in, everyone's going to stand. Like we were like coached on what to do. Yeah. God damn it, there came the Queen. And it was a small room, and I'm like, fuck, I'm in the room with the Queen, you know?
That is crazy.
And we played like a couple of the standards, and we did some of the lighter rock tunes, you know? And it was, I mean, I couldn't believe there she was.
Did you have your hair done Rod Stewart style that
night? Rod did. Rod had his hair done.
Wow.
You know?
That is
so that, I mean,
pretty cool.
Just like, yeah. And then like, you know, Prince Charles came to a couple of the shows, and we'd always do the meet and greet line. You know, we'd always line up, and he would just go down, and, you know, he's like a professional chatter. Like, you know, so I met him a couple times. But I would throw that in the same, like, you know, just getting to play for royalty and meet royalty like that. That was, I have to say, pretty amazing, sort of mind-blowing experience, you know?
Wait, let me guess. Number 2 is Dinner with Randy Jackson.
You know what? I tell you, man, that should be up there.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'll put that up there.
That's awesome.
I don't know what else. I mean, certainly like getting to play the Garden. Yeah. Doing a show, like playing, you know, at like Live 8. We did that when they did the the G3 thing, the Live 8 thing. We played in Philadelphia, went out to the world. Rock in Rio with Matchbox, played to like, a sea of people at Rock in Rio. It was amazing, the festival, and just that feeling of just being up there in front of 60,000. It's crazy, man. It's really crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah, that'll do it. Oh, maybe I performed with Bono and Edge on 60 Minutes. Well, actually, Edge wasn't. Bono took the mic at one point when we were working on the Spider-Man show, and 60 Minutes was there doing a news piece. So literally, we're doing a song, and like, there's Bono on the mic, and the camera pulls out. There's Matt Beck right next to Bono.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, man, it's heavy. It's heavy. It's like, wow, I couldn't believe it.
That is like the journalistic pinnacle of 60 Minutes, man, of television, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, and like just being there, standing there with Bono. I'm wearing my Joy Division shirt. The Unknown Pleasures, the logo.
So funny. I know exactly the shirt you're talking about very much. Yeah. That is so funny. That's really cool, man. Really cool.
Yeah.
I want to ask you one question about, he does that. Rod Stewart has that one song that it was a big hit, but I just love it. It's very emotional. The Ballad of Georgie, or I don't know the proper name of it.
Yeah, we only did that in Europe. We never did that in the States. I don't think it was known here. Yeah, it wasn't. I know, it's iconic. It's iconic. Yeah.
That solo. Who played that solo originally?
I don't know. We had a guy in a band who did a great job with it. Paul. I'm drawing a blank on his last name. I'm so bad with names. Let me look it up really quick. Paul.
Really beautiful song, man. I mean, that whole
Yeah, I mean, it'll bring you to tears.
Yeah. Oh, it's a very soulful song, man. That is one of his best modern. Of course, for me, anything after 1970.
Paul Warren was the one who did it on our tour, but we never did it. Like, there were certain songs he wouldn't do. Like, I kept asking him, because we did the States first. I kept asking him, hey, when are we going to do Handbags and Glad Rags? Because like, I love that. I've always loved that song.
What is that song? I probably know it, but not by name.
There's a cover version of it that is the theme song for the BBC, The Office. You ever watch The Office, the Ricky Gervais?
No, I know the show. I'd like to watch any TV almost.
It's a great song, and it's like a piano ballad. And there's like an oboe. There's an oboe in the intro. I love the song, and Rod sings amazing on it. What became of you, my love? I'm hoarse, but when they finally did you up, handbags and the glad rags. Great song. It's a ballad, but
he never did it.
No, but I said, when are we going to do it? He goes, maybe we'll do it when we get to Europe. And sure enough, we did it, and it was great. And I got to play the piano part. Yeah.
Why certain songs were in? It's very strange.
Yeah.
I wonder, is he doing that like based on like some data that he got back, or like some sort of measurement?
He had done them in the past and didn't get as much of a response as he did in Europe. So he's like, I should probably just do this in Europe.
That's
not
weird.
In the States, and then when we were in the States, it was all arenas, but when we were in Europe, it was all stadiums.
Oh my God.
That's actually,
wow.
I've never done a stadium tour. Like I've never, so that's another highlight, like getting to do a whole tour in stadiums,
where there's like 150,000 people or something, right?
Yeah. I mean, we had the Pretenders opening. I mean, it was surreal. I'm like, Pretenders, and then like we take the stage and it's just like a stadium full of people. It's like, you think how popular he is here, but you go to Europe, man, and it's crazy. It's really crazy. Amazing.
A lot of guys have told me that the difference in European versus American audiences is like here in the States, they tend to be like more of a, what have you done for me lately mentality. Whereas in Europe, they tend to give you credit for who you are and what you've done, period. Have you found that?
I found the fans in Europe to just be more like just rabid. They were just like completely losing their shit on Rod. And like multi-generational, like it was beyond the music. It was almost like iconic. They were just like, he's just part of their life. And like those songs are just parts of their living and growing up. And, like they would just like certain songs would get played and like you could hear the crowd singing it over the PA. You know what I mean? Like, cause everybody is singing it and everyone's like locking arms. It was like kind of like sometimes felt like a religious event because it was like everything just felt lifted because it's just this iconic person and singing the song that just uniting 100,000 people.
Yeah,
we didn't have that feeling in the States. I mean, the States were great. I mean, it was great, and it was like amazing, audiences. But like, it just reached another level when it's like outdoors and like 100,000 people and all of them like singing at the same time. It's like it's nothing like it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably speaks to what you're saying about the way the fans are.
Yeah, it's great that you got to do all that stuff.
Yeah, I'll never forget it. I mean, I probably could have stayed on longer, but I really wanted to get back to the Matchbox guys because I really felt, and plus Rob, I was doing, doing Rob's solo project as well as his musical director. It's like, that was really where I felt like I was needed more.
Well, you felt a sense of responsibility. Plus, look, the guy told you, listen, you're going to be looking for work soon. Basically, well, yeah, I mean, you got to keep.
I mean, there are some people that have been in that band for 20 years, and who knows? I could have been one of those people, but they didn't want me to be surprised if I didn't. Yeah,
that's which is a great way of giving you a heads up about it.
Right, with giving that as an option, I'm like, well, why wouldn't I go back to Matchbox? They don't want, they want to use me. They don't want to use anyone else. So
that makes sense.
And I'm there and we're also the same age. You know what I mean? Like everyone in Rod's band was a little bit older, and so I just felt a little more connected to.
That being said, it probably was nice being the baby.
It's funny, like it's funny. More recently, I joined Rosanne Cash's band recently, like, and it feels good to be the baby.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, man. It's funny, like, I think we're close in age, but I always remember I was always the youngest guy. Now I'm never the fucking youngest guy. Right. It's like, damn, and I don't even look like the youngest guy anymore. It doesn't even look like I just like it's bad. I'm just Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I guess it's better than the alternative, right? That's what I got to look.
It's nice to have both. It's like I have certain experiences where I'm the old dude, and I have certain other experiences where I'm the baby. It's really actually kind of interesting to kind of depending on what situation I'm doing, what the gig is,
If you had to go back, you seem like you've done a lot of things right. I mean, really, it seems like you've really put your head to the grindstone and put your nose to the grindstone and just like worked really hard and you're still doing it, which is great. Is there any advice that you would have liked to have heard when you were younger that might have made something easier for you? What business, personal, music, anything?
I think that's a really good question. I probably, if I could go back and tell myself something before going through all of this, I would say to maybe have gotten into doing some original music sooner so that you could really have built upon something that you could really point to and call your own. I mean, I put out my own record, but I did it, much later in my career. But if I had done it earlier, I might have been able to like build upon that, or I might have been able to find a home for that somewhere, or actually give it some legs, and actually it could maybe have grown alongside of me with my career.
Gotcha.
And so that would have been, from a personal standpoint, good because it's creative and it's your own.
Yeah.
And then also even from a financial perspective, because all that money will go to you,
sure.
Because it's your property. So it's potentially could be good financially too,
sure.
if it meets with some success, and because that's your project. Most of what I do is being part of a band and helping the bigger picture of the band or the artist.
Sure.
And there's definitely some creativity in that. Like when I play on a record, it's my parts. But it's someone else's song.
Yeah, it's their vision you're helping execute. I totally get that, man.
Yeah.
That being said,
not to forget about doing that.
That being said, man, never too late.
Right. I mean, I do have an album, and would like to do another one, and that's definitely going to happen at some point. Just from and more from a creative standpoint than from anything that I would think would come from it financially.
Sure.
That's more for my creative soul to do.
And I just got to tell everybody the name of Matt's record. It's like literally one of the best album titles I've ever heard. Anything which gives you pleasure. I mean, that is just so freaking cool. Man, let's talk about gear for a few minutes. What is,
Sure.
I know you got a shit ton of guitars.
Yeah.
What's your go-to guitar now, and what other two would round out your top three?
It's funny. I own over 50 guitars, and so like whatever is the right guitar for the situation, I tend to go with.
Yep.
But if I had to pick a guitar that is like my voice, I would say it's my Gretsch Duo Jet.
Wow.
That is really what I would consider the closest thing to my sound and my voice. There's something about it. It's just the right enough amount of chime in it, because there's a little hollowed out compartment under the bridge. It's a solid body instrument, but there is a little bit of a chamber in there, and that just gives it just a wonderful kind of twang and chime. But it also can be beefy if I step on some pedals and give it some gain. And I love the Bigsby. I love shaking, like a very slight shake of the Bigsby just to like make things glisten a little bit. I love it. That's probably my go-to if I had to pick my favorite.
What year is that?
It's actually a reissue that they probably was built in the early 2000s. But it's one of the more sought after ones because it's the original reissue that came out, and I think it was under the tutelage of the guy because I think Gretsch was bought by Fender, was it?
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but they kept on the guy from Gretsch, to like oversee these first Gretches that came out. So it was under his, and I love it. And I've played it. I've had it now for like almost 20 years, and I love it.
That's very cool, man. Do you take that on tour with you ever?
I do.
Or is that studio?
I do. I mean, it depends. It depends on the tour. Some tours I bring more guitars than others. And since I only have one Duo Jet, sometimes I'm a little greedy and I don't want to keep it with the tour gear because I know it's hard to get the guitars off the tour once it's done. You have to wait for the shipment to come in and you have to get it shipped and blah, blah. So sometimes, like that guitar I played on the Christmas tree lighting thing that you saw on TV, like I might bring that out sometimes instead of the Duo Jet because it's kind of similar. It has the Bigsby. It's semi-hollow. It's it's close, but so it really depends. I have brought it out on Matchbox tours before, the Duo Jet, but I've learned it's like, you're not going to get to see that in a while once the tour's over.
Yeah,
it might be a month without that thing. It's like shit.
Can you not just take that one guitar with you?
I could, but like usually, like if we end, let's say in Australia, there's like manifests and all that, and like if and it's all on a checklist, and that has to be checked off, and the weight and everything, and if things are different, it can mess up the whole shipment. Yeah, because it gets slow boated when it's like Australia or something. But yes, other tours I could just grab it from the road case and put it in a gig bag and carry it on. But sometimes that's an issue too, as we all have heard the horror stories. Oh yeah,
can you check it? Can you put it overhead? They're going to make you check it. Yeah, I know it's scary, especially with a baby.
Right. So sometimes it's more of a hassle to bring it out, and I just leave it home.
Yeah.
Because after all, I have so many guitars. I bring another one out there.
No, but I get it when there's that connection with an instrument. It's like a woman. It's got a certain vibe, or whatever your flavor is, whoever's listening. But yeah, I totally get it.
I also have a '59 Junior that I love.
Wow,
and it's TB yellow.
That is such a freaking cool color, man.
I know.
Oh,
I know. It's like the Johnny Thunder, the Johnny Thunder's guitar.
Where'd you get that?
I actually bought it off
Craigslist.
An amazing guitar player. That's a good one. You're learning. That's good. This great guitar player in Nashville named Tom Bukovac.
I know Bukovac. Yeah, he had a store.
Yes, that's where I bought it. I bought it
from
him through his store. Well, I saw it in the store, and I coveted it. I was like, "This is great." I'm like, "How much?" He's like, and he told me the price. I'm like, "I can't afford that." But I kept in the back of my mind, and I I sold off a bunch of guitars and I kept it all in like my PayPal account. And lo and behold, a year went by and I checked back with Tom. I'm like, you still got that Junior? He's like, yeah, man. He's like, is it this price still? I said, yeah. He's like, I got it. He's like, you take it off the shelf. It's like, it took me a year of like selling off guitars,
nice,
but I raised the money. I raised the money and
original pickup in there and everything.
Everything's original. Everything's original.
That is so cool.
Yeah, and it plays great. And I'm left-handed. We didn't talk about this, but I'm left-handed. That's right.
Let's talk about that. No, you're next level left-handed. Go ahead.
Right. But like I play a left-handed but righty strung, kind of like Albert King and like that kind of style. And so because the Junior is double cutaway, I can just flip it over and just play it. Because there's no way I'm gonna like mess with anything on a 59.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna I'm just gonna flip it over. The knobs get up under my elbow a little bit, but when you're standing up, it's not such a big deal. And I just leave everything the way it is. And that's the perfect guitar to do that with because it's a double cutaway.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so those are like my two like main.
Do you play that out ever? Is there any video of you playing that? I'd like to see.
I do have some video. It's some fan video shot of me playing that at what's the Bowery Ballroom. I did a show at the Bowery Ballroom with this band called the Push Stars, and I played it on one song where I'm taking this screaming solo, and some fan caught it. I posted it up on Facebook, but it's definitely way down on my thread somewhere.
I'm gonna hit you up,
but I can dig it up.
I want to see that, man, because I really love that guitar, man.
Oh, you know what? I have a picture of me playing it somewhere in my iPhoto. I'll send it to you if you want.
Yeah, that would be cool. I'll shoot you and remind you later. That would be very cool.
Absolutely.
And what would be number 3?
Number 3. Well, there's so many. There are so many guitars. It's really hard to say. I have a 60. I'm gonna say more than one. I have a 62 SG Junior single P90. Those are nice. I have a couple of Gibsons from the 50s that I've had ES 125.
Oh, that's awesome.
I have 2 of those. I have the thin one and the deeper one. Like the thin, which is a semi-hollow, and then like the deeper one that's like fully hollow. Those are my nicest guitars. I mean, I have so many other. I mean, it's like that's hard to say.
I know, man. It's a tough question.
It's a tough question, but the Duojet stands out. The Junior stands out for obvious reasons. And I don't know, man. If I had to pick number 3, I'd probably would say, I have this 335, this dot reissue 335. That's awesome. It's amazing every time I plug it in. I'd probably pick that one.
Yeah.
I need to use that one more. Now to think about it.
I love it.
That one's sitting in the corner.
I love that. It's like that one right there. That's just a standard. Yeah, they're great guitars, man. They sound great.
You got the Bigsby on there too. That's awesome.
But this is not what it looks like. What this is this is like a 2014. But what happened was I was in Nashville and I saw it and. But the Bigsby was aftermarket.
The custom shop thing.
Right. So what happened was, and so I was like horrified to buy I envisioned some idiot like myself standing with a drill in his garage, putting the Bigsby on. I'm like, I am not buying that. But it turns out, he goes, it was put on aftermarket. I work at Gibson. So I brought it from the hanging into the shop with the guys and we put it on. That's what I do. And I'm like, okay. So then he bought it over and I was hanging out with a guy named John Prestia, who's Tim McGraw's guitar tech. And so he gave it a once over and he's like MacGyver of, how these techs are, and so he's like, Craig, if you don't buy this, I will. I'm like, okay, great. Thank you.
Where did you buy it? At Gruen's or something?
No, he was literally Craigslist. Literally Craigslist.
That's
funny. No shit. It was funny. And I John was nice enough. He called the guy and talked because I'm not that guy. To me, I plug and play. I'm not smart enough on all this stuff. So I know, let a professional handle this. I was lucky enough to be with someone who was willing to do it and smart enough. So I was like, thank you. Whatever you say, I'll do. So,
awesome.
But I love that guitar. It plays great, man. It really feels good.
That it does.
Awesome. What's the best guitar and best amp you've ever owned or played?
Well, Well, sort of the best guitar sort of falls under that other question. I would say
the Gretsch.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's just, I love that guitar. Probably the 59 is my best guitar because it's just that thing.
It's a 59 Les Paul. TV yellow. That's perfect.
That's probably the best guitar I have. And amp, I have a 64 Bassman head.
Wow.
Actually, probably my nicest amp is I have a 64 Princeton Reverb mint. Not mint, but like as mint as can be for a 64. It's
Where'd you
clean.
get that?
Reverb. I think I bought it on Reverb.
Yeah.
And then I brought it to my guy Matt Wells, who's like an amp guru here in New York. And he did the once over on it. That's probably my best amp, although I have a lot of amps too, man. I have this thing. I have a really rare amp. It's called a Watkins Dominator, and they used them in England before they were Marshalls, and they're blue and they have a V front, so that the two 12-inch speakers face outward because it's a V front.
Yeah,
and it's blue, and supposedly Jimmy Page it's what Jimmy Page was playing early on in the studio on some stuff, and on like the real distorted stuff. He was using that early on.
Where'd you get that?
There used to be a store in Hollywood on Sunset called, I think it was called like Custom Guitars or something like that. It's right down the street from Guitar Center, but it's not there anymore. But it was right down the street from Guitar Center in Hollywood. And I walked in there, and there were two Watkins Dominators sitting there on the floor. And I'm like, holy shit. He's like, yeah, I just got them back from England. Like they have like the powers, like, it's the English power.
They had to get converted?
Well,
or you had to just get the thing?
I have a step thing I just keep with that amp. And there was two there, and I'm like, man. So I called my friend. Actually, I happened to call Paul, who's who I said the guitar player from Rod Stewart. He was the one that hit me to them. He goes, hey man, just make sure they have the ELAC speakers in them. And I checked, they did. So I sat there for like an hour and played them both, and I just picked the one I thought sounded better. And
That's
I
cool.
bought it, and I haven't used it that much because it's a very particular kind of sound. I mean, it's really meant to sort of just the way it breaks up. It's I think it's more meant for like an accordion or something like that. Like something's not meant for guitar,
Yeah.
Because I think it's an accordion input or something. Like it says accordion, something like that. But man, it sounds really great when you turn up, when you just dime everything and just play, just like singing overtone. It's overdrive. It's awesome.
Well, the nice
really
thing
great.
is you could probably sell that anytime you want for a nice chunk of change because there's none of them around.
Yep. It's already worth double what I paid for it.
I'm
I
sure.
look up,
What
that
a cool,
59. If I ever want to sell that, might help my son through college a little bit. We'll see.
Yeah.
I never want to sell it though, but if it comes down to it, we'll see.
No, I'm sure it'll be fine. The Watkins, I love that name. It's such an English sounding name.
Yeah, there's a lot of
I
there's a lot of stuff about it. Yeah,
I just circled it in red. I'm definitely look that up.
Yeah, it's a nice amp.
Desert Island Discs, man.
Ooh.
Top 3.
Desert Island Discs, man. That's just, well, I mean, usually when I play this kind of game, I usually take the Beatles and the Beach Boys as red, because like you could just, you know what I mean, like because you could just, it's not fair to everyone else, So if I can put that stipulation in, taking the Beatles and the Beach Boys as red, my top 3 Desert Island Discs. I'm a huge fan of XTC, so I would probably pick. Yeah, I love that band, so I would probably pick one of those records. It would either be Skylarking. I'll just say Skylarking.
It's a great record.
Produced by Todd Rundgren, who would probably be on this list as well. I'm a huge fan of Todd Rundgren. So I would probably pick of his stuff. I would probably pick a record called Runt, the Ballad of Todd Rundgren. I
didn't know he produced those records.
Well, yeah. He produced Skylarking for XTC. That was the only one. But his Todd Rundgren's production credits rival his artist credits. I mean, he's produced everyone. Yeah, you know that. Okay.
I knew. I just didn't know he produced XTC. I know. I mean, because he had that Bearsville place up there.
Yep, that's where they did it. Yeah. That's where they did it.
What was that? They had, they had this. Do you remember that song, "Dear God"?
Yeah, absolutely.
What a great.
It was actually not on. It was actually not on Skylarking. It was the B side of Grass.
It was that big EP. I bought the EP at the time, man. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Then like subsequent pressings of the record, they added it on.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, because it was some college DJ flipped over just that classic tale. Just flipped it over, started playing it, and it just took off.
Great. What a song.
Great song.
Man. Everything about that, the melody, the lyrics, everything.
Absolutely. So that would be number 2. And number 3, God, I mean, it would have to be, I mean, it's just like, I'm even just thinking rock. I mean, God, there's so many jazz records I would want to have, like there's so many classical records I'd want to have. It's such a hard thing to say. I'm going to keep it rock just because it's just inconceivable to think of every genre. So I think my 3rd album would be, that's a good question. Probably, I don't know. It could probably be something classic. I don't know, like a man. That's tough to say. Maybe I don't know. I'd have to pick something like. It's a tough question. 3rd record would probably be. Zebra, No Telling Lies. No.
Touche. That was a good one. Matt and I were talking. We're both big Zebra fans, and Randy Jackson was a guy I interviewed the head of Zebra, so we were just talking before the interview, and it's just kind of a funny thing. That was good.
Let's leave it. I'll stand by it.
Okay,
I mean, I wore those records out.
That is good. Do you know Chasm?
Very well.
Yeah.
I played with him on some of his solo stuff.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I listened to his solo stuff. It was really good.
Yeah. I mean, and he came out with another solo album last year called 3.
Yes.
And so, actually, it's a great story. A friend of mine, Sammy Marandino, is a great drummer. He's played with for many years. He played with God, what's the guy that did Word Up?
Word
Up, and he did that.
Yeah,
that guy. I can't think of his name. I'm like usually the trivia master, and I can't think of his name.
I could see the guys.
Yeah,
I know exactly. He had 2 hits. He had cut 2 big hits. I think one of them was.
That was like his claim.
Tone
his first
Loc.
claim. No, not Tone Loc. It's an older artist.
Wasn't Tone Loc?
Let me look it up.
Yeah, man.
No, it's an earlier artist. He might have had a song called Word Up, but this is Word Up by Cameo.
Oh,
you know what?
okay,
I just remembered I remembered the name before I looked it up, so technically I remembered it.
There you go.
Yeah, Cameo. He was a drummer in Cameo back in the day.
Well, wait a minute. Chasm, he played with Cameo years and years ago, I think.
Did he?
Man, maybe I'm losing it. Somebody
Chasm played with so many people, but he's usually been more rock realm. But Sammy's a friend. We went to go see Todd play, and with Sammy, and Sammy says, "Hey, I know Chasm." Maybe that's how he knows Chasm. I don't know. I think they just wound up on another gig together. I don't think it was Cameo, but
I'm gonna look it up while you're going.
So he introduced me to Chasm backstage, and then a day later they were talking, and Chasm's like, "Hey, I really need a guy who can play guitar and keys for my new solo stuff." And Sammy goes, "Oh, you just met him the other day. Remember that guy that was with me, Matt Beck?" So I get a call from Chasm a few days later, and I'm a big fan of Utopia and Todd Rundgren, so I know damn well who Chasm Sultan is.
Yeah.
So a call from Chasm was exciting, and he said he had this record coming out, and he wanted someone that he could do some gigs with, and maybe help him put together a band. So I recommended a couple other guys, and we did a handful of gigs to support his record 3.
Yeah.
And he's a great guy. And then I've many times seen him with Todd since, and now he's doing like a Utopia. He's doing Chasm Sultan's
Utopia. I don't know how that's going on, but
there's a bunch that Chasm sang lead on during those Utopia.
Very
records.
Much, yeah. He's been with him over 30 years.
Oh yeah, he literally was playing on Todd's solo stuff, and Todd put him on Bat Out of Hell. He played all the bass on Bat Out of Hell. Then I think he MD'd Meatloaf for many years. I mean, Chasm, he's someone you should talk to. I mean,
I interviewed him. That's how I know his whole story. I interviewed him. Yeah, I interviewed him. His story was intense, man, because he's
awesome.
He talked about he lost his wife, passed.
Yeah, I met him.
He got sober.
Yeah.
He had a very good story. Very sweet guy.
Yeah, what a great guy! Such a talented guy, and a great guy. I love working with him. I hope to do more, but my schedule has taken me a lot out of the mix for some of his stuff, some of this touring and stuff. So it's been hard because he wanted me to do the Chasms Utopia thing, and I had gigs with Rob and Matchbox. I just couldn't do it. Yeah.
Well, Rob, I hope you're listening, man. You got loyal mofo right here, man. Which I know he knows that already.
He knows.
Man, what is? Oh, I got to ask you this one question, and then we'll get under the hood. What's the first record you ever bought? Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
Yes, I do. The first record I ever bought. I bought 3 at the same time. So they were Men at Work, Business as Usual.
Okay.
Yeah. Neil Young, Trans.
What did you do? Pick the worst Neil Young album and start with that?
Yeah, because it was like that song. He did a remake of his own song, Mr. Soul.
Yeah, he had that one. Yeah,
electronic, like vocoder thing.
I remember that very well, painfully well, actually.
And okay, this one you'll love. Diver Down.
Van Halen, awesome.
Yeah, those are the 3 records I bought in one day as my first. I started getting allowance, and I was starting to get into rock. Around that time, and I had like a $10 a week allowance, which was pretty good for back then. And I would just take that money and buy records with it.
What do kids get as allowance now?
Well, you want to hear something funny? Like, we started this allowance thing with our son, except he wants it in gaming currency.
He wants it in Bitcoin.
He wants it in V-Bucks, which is like this like gaming. It's gaming currency because he's just such a gamer. So, and we're like trying to like keep him from doing it too much, but so he does his chores and he gets virtual money.
Now, who'd have thought,
Yeah.
I need you to convert that before I can use it. That's amazing. God, imagine like if you'd have said that to your parents, I need you to convert that. They would have been, hey, convert this, like, and you don't want it, no problem.
You're getting anything.
Yeah. Right. Different world, man. Matt, most important things you've learned about yourself throughout your career experience and life in general?
That is a very hard question to answer. I have to look at myself. I would say that I've learned from all the work that I've done, I've learned that I'm very good at being the catalyst. I'm very good at being the muse for artists and other people, and it's something that I really excel at. And I think it's why I get a lot of calls for a lot of different things.
As a sideman, that's probably the best gift you can give.
Yeah, like I feel like I'm a very good facilitator. I'd like to think that I'm also like easy to get along with, and I'm good with people.
That's a given. You wouldn't be getting calls if you were the best muse in the world, but a dick. The phone's not going to ring.
Yeah, no. I feel like that's really what I learned about myself. I was like, hey, this could be my my real calling in this business is because I'm good at it.
Yeah.
And people respond and seem to do really good work when I'm helping them, and so that's something I never really thought about as like growing up. Like, what am I good at? What am I going to do? I just wanted to be a great guitar player and make a lot of great music, and play on those stages that I dreamed about,
Yeah.
And I've done a lot of that,
man.
Yeah. So, but that's something that I've learned about myself.
Well, a couple of things there. Number one, congratulations, because not many people live their dreams, and you literally are living your dream. And I think that is a wonderful gift you've given yourself. Number two, you are super easy to get along with. And
Thank
no, you're like, well, I mean, like I said, I know that, and this is a fake environment, but I know you wouldn't be so busy, and you wouldn't be on stage in front of the Queen and at the Garden at the Beacon. Were you always like that?
But nice.
Yeah. I mean, pleasant, easy to get along with, amiable.
I think so. I mean, I'm, almost to a fault sometimes. And I think I'm hopefully keeping that in check. Like, being sort of like the person, like growing up, who has always wanted to, avoid confrontation and like not,
Sure.
Not be so easy to like, let things fly out, off the handle for me, get angry. I've always been very, that kind of level-headed, easy going, is been my personality, but it's easy to be walked over if you're too much that way, so I've learned, that I can't be a pushover, but I think my general nature is sort of non-confrontational and easygoing.
So you've learned to make sure you consider yourself in the mix as you've gotten older, maybe.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's important. It really is. Yeah, especially as you get older.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I like to please people and I like to make people happy, and that's a good trait. But you can't do that at the expense of what's
yourself.
Good for you,
No,
yourself. And that's the thing. That I'm learning. Yeah.
Good. I always say, being fair means being fair to you and the other guy. Mm-hmm. I think that's what being fair is, and you always try to come up with the best approximation of what that feels like,
Absolutely. Agree.
Best childhood memory.
Best childhood memory. Wow. Wow, that's interesting. There's so many. Best childhood memory. I mean, God, I remember my mom bringing my brother home from the hospital and placing him in my hands.
Really?
Yeah, he's like, "This is your brother."
How much younger is your brother than you?
He's only 3 years younger, so I would have only been 3. But I remember the feeling of holding a life, bundled up, and I was like, "This is your brother. This is Mark," And
is he in music? Is your brother involved in music?
He's not involved in music, but he's got the gene. He's very talented, but he pursued teaching. So he has a doctorate in education. So he's hugely successful in the education field.
Cool, man.
But so I remember that.
That's nice.
Yeah, I mean that's God, I don't know. Like I remember.
Dude, you should let your brother listen to it. That is a really cool thing to be a little brother and hear that. Yeah, I think. Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever told him, to his face that I remember you coming home and I remember meeting you for the first time,
Meeting you. That's funny, man.
Yeah. Cause I wasn't I wasn't at the hospital, I was home. They kept me home. And then I just remember her coming home with him,
Mark, I remember when we met. Yeah, you got to play that for him when this comes out. That's nice.
I will.
I like that. Don't say anything else. Just leave it at that, because then you're going to say something else, and you're like, "Oh, wait a minute, this is much more. This is a lot. This is really," and he'll be like,
right. Yeah.
Tell me something about yourself people would be surprised to hear or might find a little odd.
Surprised to hear. Surprised to hear. That my name, I was actually not born Matt Beck. That's a total.
That's a stage name, really?
Yeah, I mean it's a stage name I've had since I was a kid. It's not really a stage name. But I was born with a Polish first name Mieczysław. So my actual birth name is Mieczysław Gubernat.
Wow.
I used to make a fun party trick. I would spell out my first name and ask people to pronounce it, and see how close they would. Because like in the Polish language, it's like all this.
There's a lot of consonants back to back. Yeah,
and Z's and W's.
Z's, and K's. Yeah. Wow. Interesting.
So that would be something.
See, now that would have been a perfect name had you stayed in classical piano.
Right.
Dude,
exactly.
That would have been like.
My mom has told me that. That would have been. That would have been it. That would have been their name. That should have been your name.
Yeah, for sure, man.
But I literally have never been called Mieczysław. From day one, my mom called me Matt.
Oh, that's cool.
So in a weird way, Matt is sort of a nickname from Mieczysław.
Yeah.
which I don't get. but my mom, I've never been called anything but Matt. But legally, I did get it changed to Matt Beck. But legally, I was up until a few years ago, I was Mieczysław Gubernat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was your mom from Poland and immigrated?
No, my natural father is Polish. And
Okay.
My mom is
Your mom's American. Very cool, man.
Yeah.
That's nice, man. Any hobbies or interests outside of music?
Yeah, I mean, I love to play tennis. I love to play chess. I'm not very good, but I do like to play chess. Actually, Chasm and I like to play chess a lot.
That's cool.
Chasm discovered chess not too long ago, so we play chess.
That's cool. Do you guys go down to the village and the chess clubs there or something like that?
Maybe we'll do that sometime. No, we play online a lot. You know,
do you?
Yeah, cool. You know, I'm going to hit him up again for another game. It's been a while.
Good.
But yeah, those are my only hobbies. Because music, believe it or not, like music's a hobby too. Like I go to hear. I have a buddy, one of my best friends. His name is also Rob, and we go and hear concerts as fans of music.
Sure. I
don't go because I'm trying to get that gig, or I just go because I love this band and they come to town, and we mark our calendar every month, like who's coming to town, who are we going to go see. So in a way, music is my hobby too. I love it. It's my passion. It's my life, but it's also my hobby because I like to follow the bands that I like. I like to go see them, new music, and
who do you listen
bands
to? Who's new that you listen to now?
That was my most recent discovery. They're actually pretty successful and pretty poppy. The band called the 1975. I got really into them. They're a Manchester band, but they're definitely influenced from like 80s pop.
The 1975. I'll have to check them out.
1975. Yeah, they just put out their third album, but their first album is great. And they came to the Garden. My son got really into them too.
That's cool when you go to concerts with your son.
Yeah,
that is so cool, isn't it?
Concert, I mean, not including like concerts that I play at, but I took him just as a fan, and we went to the Garden, and it was great. It was just him and I, and he knew all the songs, I knew all the songs, and
it's cool, jumped, right?
And it was great. It was a great experience that I won't ever forget. It'll be one of my. It's one of the few. When someone asks me what is your fondest memory of my son growing up, I'm gonna remember that day.
Yeah. What I did with my older son. I've been to concerts with both of them. My older one is more the music guy. My younger one's more sports. I took him. We flew into LaGuardia. We drove up to Woodstock and just hung out upstate there for a while just to see the campus. And then we drove back and saw the Allman Brothers at the Beacon.
Oh, wow.
That was a great one of those. What a cool weekend that was, man.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I never got to see any of those.
Yeah.
I never got to see the Allman Brothers either. I saw Greg Allman right before he passed. I saw him on tour, but I never got to see the Allman Brothers.
It was pretty. Cool. It was one of the best shows I've ever seen by far, especially at the Beacon. Everything there was perfect. And I saw Mule that same year at the Beacon, like December 30th, which was off the charts, man.
That guy's a nice guy.
Warren?
Yeah. Did you ever talk to him? Is he on your thing?
No, I'd like to. I have to go through his people to do that, and I'm sort of allergic to those guys. With rare exception, they tend to sort of like. I don't know. I'm just,
because he's such a big star. He's such a big star. He's all that red tape. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say I bumped into him at Barney's once. I was
What were either one of you doing at Barney's?
Exactly. I want some shoes. There was like some shoes I was dying to get, but they were like casual shoes. But I was in the shoe department at Barney's. He comes walking by.
And Warren Haynes is like,
and I turned to him because he was standing there, and I'm like, Warren Haynes. He's like, hey, and I'm like, hey man, my name's Matt Beck. He's like, I love your playing, and we had a mutual friend at the time. No one. This guy Jimmy Herring, who's become quite well known. Oh. He was my favorite. I was a huge Aquarium Rescue Unit fan, when they were like putting out their records, and I got to know Jimmy a little bit just from I used to transcribe Jimmy's solos and bring it to him at shows. I'd be like, here's music of your solo.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
And he loved it. Like he befriended me, and So I said to Warren, I said, I know Jimmy, Herring a little bit, and he said, oh, you do? Wow, that's cool. And, because he wasn't as known as he was then. And then Warren was so nice. He talked to me, then, say goodbye. And then like 15 minutes later, as he was leaving, he came back over to just say, hey man, it was nice to meet you.
Yeah. I'm not surprised. He just seems like
he literally came back over as he was leaving to say, it was nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Nice talking to you. I was like,
he seems like that kind of guy at first. But people from smaller towns are like that. Yeah. They're not like New Yorkers where like, it's not that, we might do that, but just where our mind is like whoosh, gone because we're not, but people from smaller towns where that, it's the rapport, the chemistry, the warmth is more of a priority inherent in how they're raised than us growing up in the city. And just so people know, Barney's is like it's where guys that wear suit, like not even guys suit and ties, guys that work on Wall Street go to buy, suit and ties and, whatever, I don't know.
We stuck out like that. I don't know what Warren and I were doing. And
that's really funny, man.
We were there. I was trying to track down these shoes and I think I looked online. I'm like, this is where they were. So I went, and there was Warren. Maybe he did the same thing,
Yeah, he wanted the same pair of shoes. Man, I'm going to ask you 2 more questions. This has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate your time. Most important lesson your business has taught you?
Well, I mean, the obvious thing, and I guess something I had to learn was to be organized, to stay organized, man. Like I used to not be that organized, and I started missing shit. Like I started not, because as I got busier, I had a calendar at home or whatever that was like a paper calendar, and I'd write stuff in, and sometimes I'd make a mistake, and and I didn't have, and this is like up to like kind of like I'd say like within like maybe 10 or 15 years ago, I didn't have, and all the devices were out there, like people were syncing their phones and stuff, but I just was a little late to doing that, but boy, man, I had a couple of big fuck ups, and I was like, all right, I got to get this shit together because I wasn't really like computer savvy.
Yeah,
that wasn't that savvy, so I had to like get that shit together. So like, I got everything. I've always have my calendar on my laptop, on my desktop, and on my phone. And whenever I make an addition to any one with the cloud, it's all
synced.
It all synced up, but like it took me a long time to do that. And so like business wise, it was like I think that's my biggest thing I had to learn was to like you got to organize that shit. Even like getting paid, like I'm working so many different jobs and gigs that like in my calendar I put what the amount is, and then when I get paid, I go back to that. Still, I mean, these are things that I had to learn the hard way.
You got to learn a system that works for you. That it's manageable too. You can't. Yeah. And look at you now. You're fucking paying your kid in Bitcoin. You're nuts. You're crazy.
Crazy, man.
And last question, Matt. Biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years, and how much of that change has been intentional and deliberate, and how much is just maybe a natural part of aging?
I'd say that the biggest change in my personality is I've become more outgoing as I've done more of these bigger gigs and played these bigger venues, and I've just been out there meeting people and doing stuff because I was always very shy. I was always very shy growing up, and even still, like in small situations, like I can be pretty shy, and it can take longer for me to open up. But I think over the years, I've just become more outgoing and learned how to sort of like, be a little bit more assertive, from person to person and, in direct contact. Good, whereas man. Before, I think I picked up from being on these big stages and like, sort of like my confidence level has grown as a person.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's fantastic, man. It's great to hear. Man, listen, I can't thank you enough. I really enjoyed myself. I would look forward to continuing this in person sometime. And let me tell people where to find you. And when you're, first of all, check out Matt's record he put out. It's called, again, great title, Anything Which Gives You Pleasure. It comes with a Adam and Eve coupon, I believe, inside. He's also available on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And if you are, man, he does a ton of session work at his home studio. He is a wonderful player, and he's really sharp and incredibly diverse, and he's got a great sound. So if you are interested in working with Matt and having him work on any of your sessions, probably the best thing to do is to direct message him on one of the social media channels. Instagram seems to be the most accessible, but get a hold of him and let him know what you're thinking about. And man, thank you very much for everything. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Craig.
Any final words of wisdom?
Well, first, just thanking you for having me on. This was really great to, I learned a lot about myself. Some of those questions and had to dig, and so there's always
That's
rewarding for me. And I guess the only advice I'd have for anyone out there is what I generally tell people when I'm asked to give general advice is to, really be sure to put yourself out there and take any opportunity that comes, even if it doesn't seem like it's what you want to do, because in many instances it can lead you to what you want to do, because you can make connections to people that can actually get you back towards your goal that you want. So I tell people, never shut yourself off from opportunities.
Awesome.
Even if they don't seem like it's your focus, just go with it. Because, I always believe in the path of least resistance,
Man.
If something shows itself to you, just go down that path. Even if it's like, well, I never thought about that, because you may open up something amazing that you never thought about before. So I always tell people to really try not to unintentionally close off your opportunities, always walk through them.
I think that's great advice. I had this, read this in a book many years ago. Little hinges swing big doors open.
There you go. Yes,
yeah,
that's
I like
great.
that.
That's
man.
a great analogy. Yeah.
Man, thank you for everything. I appreciate it. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this interview, please share it with a friend on your social media channels. We appreciate your support and help with this. Thanks again to Matt Beck. Please support Matt out on the road with Rob Thomas, Matchbox 20, and his all of his other projects. And hopefully when he drops his new record, he will come on here and we'll announce it to the world. And thank you again for spending time with us, Matt. Make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com, sign up to get on our newsletter list so you and I can connect. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.